So a number of people are fleeing this country because of the threat to their lives arising from this civil conflict. But some other migration result from economic crisis in a number of countries. The depression that has caught up with the world in the last 5 years has led to increasing unemployment, and some countries are no longer able to provide the basic necessities of life for their citizens in terms of employment. And so people are just migrating to where they think, rightly or wrongly, that they will get greener pasture. And so that accounts for the increasing number of immigrants to other countries.
Yeah, but Professor, do these countries, especially the EU countries, are they obliged to receive these immigrants? Because a lot of them are coming in, but not many are going back. They're coming into Italy as Italy's sort of like the entry point, and then much later they're spread across the European Union. Do countries have the right to say, no, they will not accept immigrants?
Well, it depends on the nature of immigration. Now, many countries, including the European countries, are signatories or parties to the United Nations Convention on Refugees. So for those citizens of other countries who are fleeing as a result of civil war or one form of conflict or the other, there is a principle of non-refoulement, which is that the receiving countries will not have a right to return them to places where they are going to suffer any form of danger. And so for any signatory country, and many European countries are signatories to the United Nations Convention, they are under obligation to protect citizens from those countries that are under conflict, whatever may be the motivation. But so long as it's established that those countries are under a state of civil war and that there is threat to life and property, then they will be violating the international law obligations if they adopt any law or policy that's going to negate the principles of non-refoulement. Now, having said that, there are a clear number of cases where people are just fleeing to other countries in search of a better life because of economic downturn in a number of countries. Now, that is a different ballgame entirely. There is no obligation for any country to receive other citizens except by legal process of visa and all that. So if you enter other countries illegally for purpose of economic reasons other than the issue of asylum or issue of refugee status, then they are not under obligation to receive you, and they may actually repatriate you at the border, whether you are coming into the air or you are coming into by sea.
Yeah, but Professor, the migrations or the illegal migrations, I should say, are coming not just from Africa, but just as Germany has been complaining, citizens have been coming from you have the people from Roma as well as from Romania and Bulgaria, I believe, coming into Germany. So even within the EU, there are countries that are still complaining, there's still countries migrating to other countries. Is there some law that regulates the number of immigrants that are allowed into each country within the EU?
Well, if the movement is within the EU itself, from one EU country to another, there are protocols on free movement of persons as well as free movement of goods and services. And Germany or any other country will be violating those protocols, those treaties, if for any reason they decide to limit the citizens of other EU countries from entering their own country. Unless there are new policies or new treaty regimes that makes exceptions in certain situations, then all EU countries, by virtue of being signatories to the relevant protocols on free movement of persons and goods, are under obligation to accept those citizens. Of course, it causes problems for nationals of those other countries like Germany, but that's part of the price of paying for being part of the European Union. The benefits and burdens, they go together.
Yeah, but Professor, I do understand, okay, that there are conflicts in most places in Africa, especially those closer to the Mediterranean Sea, already going through conflict. So a lot of people are bound to leave. But should there be a proper process for the immigration? Because these are illegal immigrants risking their lives crossing the sea in open boats. Sometimes they capsize. A lot of them die before they get there. They end up malnourished and so on. And then the host countries eventually have to take care of them. Is there some way that, you know, these people could be transported, I should say, to any of these European countries without having to go through the risks of illegal migration?
Well, there's no obligation in international law to accept other citizens of other countries. The principle of sovereignty, of course, implies that you protect the rights and property of persons within your territory. And it also implies the fact that you can limit the influx of the number of persons that come into your country. But having said that, there are some exceptions on humanitarian and moral grounds. And international law does recognize those exceptions. And I've mentioned part of the refugee status, asylum status. But even at those, there are policies and regulations that countries are permitted to put in mind to screen and make sure that those who are seeking either asylum or refugee status qualify for those kind of status before they admit them. Other than that, there is no international law that obliges any country to accept citizens of a country into their own territory, except like in the case of the European Union or in the case of ECOWAS. Citizens of those integrating communities are free to move around other countries without any inhibitions, without any limitation, because to limit them will be a violation of international law. So these things can be done purely on humanitarian grounds or moral grounds. But each countries are permitted to lay down policies and principles that will restrict the movement of persons, that will take away the available jobs and securities of their own citizens, because every country is under obligation to protect for their own citizens primarily.
Professor, thank you so much for your thoughts on this subject topic. We appreciate you spending time with us on The World today. Professor Nsungura Ndombana is an international lawyer. He joined us live from Abuja via telephone. Now, let's get more now on that story in Sudan, where a woman, Miriam Ishaq, has been sentenced to death by hanging for what the court says was apostasy. She left Islam to marry a Christian man, and the court says she must be flogged 100 lashes for committing adultery. John Tanzer joins me now from the Voice of America newsroom. He joins us via Skype. John, thank you for joining us on The World today. And what does the Sudanese government say about this? Is it in support of this sentence?
The Sudanese Minister of Information, Ahmed Adam Bilal, spoke today from Cairo, and he said that the sentencing of Mariam Yahya was unexpected because initially the Grand Mufti of Sudan was for the idea of giving at least a 2 weeks grace period for Mariam to decide whether she wants to remain a Christian or she wants to renounce her Christianity. And so the minister was saying it looks like the decision of the court was unexpected.
So is this a first for Sudan, this particular incident?
Well, there has been a lot of other sentences similar like that, but this is the first high-profile sentencing that is catching the attention of everybody because it's involving a lady who was born to a Sudanese, but the mother is Ethiopian Orthodox, and according to the story from the relatives, they're saying that the father abandoned Mariam when she was 2 years old, and she was brought up in a Christian setting, and so the only religion she knows is Christianity.
Right. So we did hear that, of course, in the reports much earlier. But is there any way in which the international community, we know Amnesty International is already involved in this, but is there any way the international community could be more involved in this besides just condemning it?
Well, there is a window of opportunity for the international community, especially the United States, using its diplomatic patronage around the continent to really support, to sort of stop this, because there is a freedom of choice. People are free to choose which religion they want to be a member of, and there's no way someone can be forced to accept a religion that you're not comfortable with. In fact, it's a matter of human rights.
Thanks a lot, John Tanzer, VOA correspondent from the newsroom in Washington. John has been following the story. Of course, Miriam will be getting her sentence in 2 years' time after her baby has been weaned. But we move now to a really strange occurrence that's taken place in the German city of Chemnitz. An entire family survived being hit by lightning during an unexpected storm. One of the victims, Ricarda, says she was outside chopping wood when it began to rain. But it was while she and her family were bringing their toys and garden furniture back into the house that she heard a loud bang and felt some tingling from head to toe. Her 9-year-old nephew fell over unconscious and had to be resuscitated. Other families, including the grandmother, Ricarda's 2 children, and her sister-in-law, went to the hospital to treat minor injuries. Call that a lucky shave with death, but thank God everyone is alive and well. And that's the world today. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. Stay tuned. Sports News is up next.